Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Work at Home Rockstar Podcast. Excited for today's guest. He is the president of RST Coaching Academy. And what he does is he helps people make more money and scale their businesses. So super excited to be rocking out today with Russ Thomas. Hey, Russ, you ready to rock?
Tim, I'm a child of the 60s. I am ready to rock and roll. Let's go.
Right on. So we always start off here on a good note. So tell me a story of success in your business that we can be inspired by.
Well, like probably many people that are listening and watching your podcast, I have an addiction, like many of them. I'm addicted to business. My addiction started out in 1972. 2 years out of college, I was lamenting the fact that I didn't have much going on for a career at the time. The problem is at that point is that during college, I majored in weekends. I did not apply myself to studying very well. And so by the time I graduated, there just wasn't anything around. So here I'm sitting in my apartment with my girlfriend, Jenny, at the time, lamenting my trouble of trying to make a career for myself. And all of a sudden she casually says, well, maybe you would be happiest just owning a gas station.
Hmm.
I said, what? What? Now, I had worked at two gas stations during 2 summers while I was in college, but now I have a college degree in business management, and it just seemed a little bit below me to get involved in a gas station. But guess what? A year later, Jenny was gone, and I had purchased my first business. Yeah, a gas station up in Wisconsin.
Wow.
I owned that for 2 years, but the addiction had started at that time. And since then, I probably owned some 8 or 10 businesses, mostly in the computer industry, most recently in the marine industry. And I love business. I call myself a hopeless entrepreneur. Every time I would hear about a business, my ears and my antennas would perk up and I'd be interested in it. But I'm trying to get away from that because I need to be focused on helping people with their business and not trying to be so diversified. But in the course of time, I've had 8 or 10 businesses. But in that time, I was always a one-man band. I was in business for myself, but I was always by myself.
Mhm.
I never had anybody that I could counsel with, that I could get coached by and get, information. I'll tell you, you probably know this, college did not prepare me for business ownership.
No.
They were trying to prepare me to get a good education, which I threw in their face, because of weekends, and get a good job. Well, both of those things failed. And so here I am all by myself. And I love the business thing, but I'm by myself, trying to learn the ropes. I didn't know how to build a business. I didn't know how to make money until I came into contact with the final solution. And we'll probably talk about that as time goes on. But in the mid 2000s, I was making a lot of money, but I spent it on lifestyle.
Mm.
I invested the money that I made in the computer industry on lifestyle. We bought a 44-foot motor yacht. We moved to Florida, living the life, this and that, skiing, et cetera, et cetera. Living the lifestyle, but did not invest for the future. So
Yeah.
here I am 75 years later, still in the workforce, still in the day-to-day workforce, but at least I've got a passion of trying to do something more than just for me. I'm involved in trying to help other people build their passion, build a life for themselves, a lifestyle. My friend Grant Cardone says it is your responsibility, your obligation, and duty to be successful. And I live by that. And that's what I teach the people that I work with. The thing is what I've learned is, get started and don't quit. Keep going, but you got to have somebody along the way to help you get through the difficult times. You can't see the forest for the trees.
Hmm.
And so if you have a kind of a disinterested third party that's not emotionally involved, that individual can give a little more insight as to what needs to take place to become successful. So that's kind of it in a nutshell, the good, bad, and the ugly.
Yeah, yeah.
I started in this coaching career a little over a year ago. Tell you the truth, I'm still ramping up because I'm so old, I'm slow, but I'm passionate about getting this thing going and helping as many people as I can. My goal is to help some 500 people by 2026 to help them get to a place of more income, more choices, more business for themselves, more for their families, and so on. So I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, and we seem to be in that in a bit of a sweet spot for that right now too. Like I know when I first started in my business, it was probably around 15 years ago, and I mean just the landscape was so much different. And now it seems that there's a lot more people out there like you that are out there with some experience, in the field and are willing to help people with that. It's so much easier to find those people, whereas back even 10 even before lockdowns, it was so much harder to find the right people that were ready to help you. You could, I mean, I agree with you. I wouldn't be where I am right now if I didn't have those mentors early on, but I had to work to find them. Now it's like they're in your face. It's probably the opposite problem now. How do you like narrow it down to somebody who actually knows what they're talking about, right?
Oh yeah. All right. Well, I'm on LinkedIn, for example. RST Coaching is my handle there on LinkedIn, and I'll get these accept. They want to connect with
Yep,
me, and so they're in this business or that business, and so I'll go ahead and accept it because I want to increase my reach, of course.
of
And
course.
then a little while later, I'll get a message from these people wanting to teach me how to build my business, how to do what I'm already doing, and it just like
Wow.
blows my mind. One guy I posted back to him and I said, "Did you read my profile?
Yeah.
We're in the same business, and that was the end of that conversation, because you're right, they're out there. I guess, you've got a person that's looking for help, a coach, mentor, whatever you want to call it. There's got to be a fit, a personal fit, a blending personalities and being able to work together. A person can be very well versed in their field, but maybe they're a total jerk. And
Hmm.
I don't know if you really want to work with that person or not when there's other fish in the sea, So that's the thing. If you're really serious about that, you're probably going to interview a few people and vet them to see really which is the best fit for your particular needs.
Yep, yep. Mind you, I will say that when you're hiring a coach, a jerk is usually a little bit better than someone who's too nice. 'Cause,
Well, they get in
you
your
know,
face, I guess.
yeah,
I believe in telling the truth in love.
yeah, yeah, totally. So now let's talk a little bit. Let's expand a little bit more about the bad note. So now, you've got a lot of experience. There are sometimes things that don't go as planned. And I'm
Oh,
wondering, is there something that, just a big mistake, something, that didn't work out? And how did you get out of it? And how can we avoid that if it happens to us?
well, I think that the the majority of the things that I have been into of late have been revolving around the internet, websites. For example, I created a t-shirt sales business. I call it beachlifeusa.com and designed a t-shirt, that's got the palm trees on it. I mean, it's really cool. I got the
Mhm.
idea. Maybe you've heard of Salt Life. And that's a big name, especially down here. So I thought I'm going to come up with this beach life, and so I signed up and created this pattern for the t-shirts. Created a website, and it was just an e-commerce website.
Mhm.
Nothing happened. Nothing happened.
Yep.
So I've essentially kind of just walked away from it. Now, if I wasn't knowing what I know now, and if I was still wanting to really build that, there was some things that I could do to make it work, like social media, marketing of one sort or another, email and so on, podcasts, for example, just promote. The fact is that money follows attention, and you got to start with attention, and that's where money comes. That's where marketing comes in. Well, I wasn't doing a job of that at all, and so that was a big failure. But I guess I would have to say, Tim, that I've moved on from that because that's not where I'm focusing right now. If I had somebody alongside of me that maybe wanted to learn the ropes and e-commerce and all this stuff, I turn it over to them and teach them what to do and let them do it. But right this minute, I don't have anybody in that realm. The t-shirts are really cool, but nobody knows about it. I sold a few, but I don't even think I broke even on the deal. I still got a bunch of them in my closet. How many would you like? So that's an example of a failure, and it's a failure because I didn't really know what I was doing. I thought I'm gonna create a website, and if you create it, they will come. Well, that is not necessarily the case.
No.
So and that's it. And there's been other things that I've tried to do, security systems, and that was a website deal and an email thing, and that didn't go very well either. The best thing that I had done historically had probably been in the computer world, but I got tired of writing computer code. I was making a gob of money doing that, and that's where we got the money to spend it, to waste it on lifestyle. But I got tired of that, and I wanted to get into the marine industry, into yacht brokerage, and to try to build boats and so on and so forth. And so that, that's just a diversion from something that I was bored with. Basically, I probably should have stayed with it. But, you live and learn, basically. And if you don't have the input of ideas and direction, you're on your own, man. And that can be a scary place. I love being in business for myself, but I don't like being by myself.
Yeah. Well, and when it comes to like getting, into different types of businesses and all that stuff, I think that that's really relatable to probably anybody with an entrepreneurial mindset, because we see things all the time. And you know what? I mean, truth be told, we probably could be good at anything, really. And, any one of those ideas, if someone else is doing it and being successful, you can do it too.
Very
But
true.
as you said, you need to focus into that area, and we only have so much focus. Right?
Yeah.
So,
right.
Sure, you can start up a t-shirt company if you want. You could be successful with it. There are people that have done it. But are you going to take all your attention away from this other place that's successful right now and put it into the t-shirt business? Because that's what you're going to have to do, right? Or at least for the for the short term. Because I know that there was somebody that was talking to me about, and I'm not sure if this is your experience with talking with successful mentors, but they were like, oh, this, so and so has 10 businesses or 20 businesses and all that stuff, and wow, I can just, that means I can do 20 businesses. What you don't know, and what you find out when you talk to this person, is they didn't build 20 businesses at once. They built one business, right? And then they maybe, delegated it out or sold it or whatever they did. And then they built another one. So they put their focus in one place at a time,
Right.
and they were just laser focused on that.
Right.
And that's what we don't see. We see the 10 businesses and go, hey, I can do that.
Yeah. Well, diversity, I think, is a great thing and a healthy thing, because you're spreading your exposure out in the business world. You're spreading that out in case one thing takes a hit. You've got 9 other things that are still doing very well, or at least pretty well. But to try to do that simultaneously is just a disaster and a half. There's no doubt about it. But diversity, after you get the first one going, and then the second and the third and the fourth, and in the diversity thing. So, and this is something people have to think about too. So I was in the computer programming business. I get into the t-shirt business. Well, there's not a whole lot of continuity between those two worlds. They're a whole different thing. So it was really diversified as far as that goes, So a person's got to decide, do I want to do something that's got some overlap, or do I want to do something that's just totally different? But that there is a market for. And that's where some market research comes into play, to kind of test the market and see how people are going to respond to this new latest and greatest invention,
Yeah, you
So
bet.
I think it's cool, just diversify, and yeah, I love it. I love it.
Yeah. So now work from home comes with its own little set of complication and of challenges. I'm wondering, what does your home office, your jam room look like? What do you think is important in that?
Well, I think it's better felt than tell, or so I can show you a little video. I can walk you around my office and show you all the things that I have in here. And
Sure.
maybe some will say, what the heck is he doing with this thing? But this is my office. This is my world. We live in a 4-bedroom house, 2-story house, and I'm on the second floor in one of the bedrooms. And I have my own little world, and I love it. Honestly, I spend probably way too much time up here, but I've got so much to do and I love what I'm doing. So it's not like I'm really working. I'm having fun because I'm a hopeless entrepreneur trying to build something for my family and for hopefully generations to come. But let me just grab this camera and walk it around here a little bit. So,
Sure.
number one, man, oh
Oh,
man, you got to have a computer.
well, you may want to take your background, your virtual background off because we can't see anything.
Oh, by golly, how does that work now?
Oh, maybe that's not going to work then. There you go.
How's that? There we are. Look
So
at
for
that.
people who are listening to this on Spotify or anything like that, just go to the YouTube channel. There's a Work at Home Rockstar podcast YouTube channel, and you can see this video.
That's it. And you poor people that are just on the audio, you're missing out big time. So there's the computer. You got to have a computer. I recommend a large screen so you can
Hmm.
really see what you're doing, especially if your eyes are getting a little dimmer like mine are at 75. And I've got over here, this is my lovely desk, keyboard right here. And what this is I think it's called a secretary desk. So it's got the main desk area, and then it's got, I think they call this a return, which is where the computer keyboard and stuff is. There's the CPU on the computer. Now, I want you to notice the papers on this desk. And to tell you the truth, this is the first time I have seen this desktop in several days. I cleaned it up just for you people today to impress you, but this is a desk. This computer here, I actually host my own website for some of my businesses and stuff that I've got going, and that's the server over there. Then we've got the printer and the CPU for the server and so on. Over on this side, this is my podcast department. When I
Ah,
interview people on my podcast, which I'm going to ask Tim if I can interview him someday,
oh,
and
I'd love to.
hopefully he'll accept. But anyway, I've got a nice camera that I've got set up at 1280 by 720 pixels. Does a great job. I've got a laptop for my Zoom calls and my little microphone and so on. My super duper chair, and I've got a banner here, RST Coaching Academy. Another one on the wall that says RST Marine Electronics. Can you believe I'm in that business also? And then over here, moving right along briefly, I've got way too much stuff on my bookshelf. A lot of it is knickknacks. My wife teases me about this. She's under orders not to ever try to dust those shelves because she would ruin everything. This is a wall here of some of the boats that I have designed in my fledgling boat building business. And down here is another desk. This one belongs to my 7-year-old granddaughter. She can come up here and she's a creative little girl. So she comes up here and creates all sorts of interesting things. This is a 125-foot expedition yacht that I had designed. I'm looking for $25 million if somebody wants to invest in it so we can build it and sell it. So
Well,
anyway, that's kind of a round robin of what's going on in my office. Yeah, you need to have a good computer. You need to have a good printer. The printer that I have, I paid, I think, $269 for it many years ago, and it's been working great. It's never failed me. I just have to keep it fed with ink on occasion. But
yeah.
anyway, that's the thing. And it used to be that you had to have a a landline. You need to have a phone. Well, guess what? Not anymore. We get by with our cell phone. So I've got two cell phones. This is for some of my businesses and personal use. And this one here, the newest phone, this is for my RST Coaching Academy phone.
Love it.
So later on, I'll probably give you my phone number. And if you're going to call me, this is the one that's going to ring. Now you get to talk on the newer phone.
Nice. Yeah.
Anyway,
And that's an excellent
the
idea right there for the two phones, especially nowadays with the phones being as inexpensive as they are, because everything is requiring text messaging now, right? So
yeah.
and that's probably part of your reasoning, right? Like, how do you separate business from home life, right? When you
And
got
that's
people
what I
calling
was
you at all
wanting to do.
hours.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. And it's a whole separate thrust. And because of that, I want my voice, my message, my greeting to be applicable to the specific business that the phone is serving. And so, with the RST Coaching Academy phone, guess how I answer? Hi, this is Russ with RST Coaching Academy.
Yeah.
And the other one is, hi, this is Russ with RST Marine and Ruby Yachts, so they're separate deals. Keep them separate.
Love it.
Now, if you're going to diversify folks into 10 businesses, I don't know what you're going to do. You might end up with 10 phones or whatever.
10 phones. At that point, there are some really, really cool technology tools that will allow you to have different phone numbers on the same phone. So, I mean, if you had a work phone and a personal phone, that would still work. All your work would come into the same phone.
Good
But
point.
that's awesome. And I think the biggest takeaway there is that you're excited about your office. And I think that's really what it comes down to is you've got to be excited to come into your office and do work, right?
Right. It's not work. It's literally fun.
Mm-hmm.
Working for somebody else is work.
That's work.
But working for yourself, when you're passionate about what you're doing, that's fun.
Yeah.
You're just fueling the beast there.
Yep. Yep. Now let's talk a little bit about getting fans. So, and we kind of talked a little bit about LinkedIn and how people will, you'll accept their invitation and they all of a sudden start sending you messages. To me, I don't find that works all the either. And I wouldn't recommend that someone do that. Just, send messages to random people trying to get them to. And I think it probably has something to do because I have the same thing. I have people offering me websites all the time. That's my business. I'm like,
don't you love it? You just want.
What are you thinking?
Yeah, man. You just want to reach through the internet and kind of grab them by the throat or something. Yeah. It's like, read my profile, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Why would you offer me the thing that I do? But I have a feeling it has to do with the way that people are trying to find clients. They're looking for, if they're a coach, they're looking for coach in their searches and stuff like that, which is obviously the wrong way to go about doing it. How would you do it if you were to go out there and, go gather a fan base? What would you do to get your name out there?
Well, social media is definitely a big thing. I'm on all the major platforms. I'm not on TikTok. I'm not dealing with that really. I've got something RST coaching on TikTok, but I don't really do anything with it. But the other big ones, and what they are. I'm sure people know what they are. And actually, I think it's 5 different accounts on those platforms.
Yep.
And fortunately, I use a product called socialpilot.co or io or something like that. Mm-hmm. And I can set up my posts in advance on a bulk way. And then I push the button, they get uploaded, and then they're sent out at the appropriate time. And right now I've been creating like 45 posts in advance covering 3 weeks, Monday through Friday, and they just go bing, 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 bing automatically. I don't know if the repetition, I've got a 3-week cycle. So if I did a certain post on the first of the month, that means, 16 days later, I'm going to put that one out again. Honestly, I don't know if that's a good way to do it because of the repetition, but hopefully new people are coming on board all the time and they hopefully have not seen that one before. So, and a person can always add more and, have more in their repertoire. So social media is a big thing. Email marketing is a big thing, to create to create a landing page and have subscribers off of your website. I hope you have a website. If you don't, I know somebody that can help you out with that. And get going with a landing page to sign up subscribers, and then you've got people that have really signed in and they want to hear your story. They want to hear what you're about, and you can send them anything, tips and practices and offers and so on and so forth. So that's another part of it too, is the email subscription service. Now I have bought some email addresses. I've got several thousand that I purchased, and they're not the best thing to do, but it's better than nothing. If you don't have a big following at the time, then start with that. I think I paid $50 for, several million business addresses here in the United States. There's a lot of sifting through, and you got to know what you're doing. In fact, that's another thing, to hire somebody to oversee that for you, to make it more professional and to make it more successful.
Yeah.
So we've got the email thing. Podcasts is another way to get out there. I'm interviewing a whole bunch of people that are business people. I want to hear their stories. I want them to tell their stories to my audience, just like you do, Tim. And let the audience be blessed by that information, ultimately offer some advice and how they can, be contacted, etc. And so in that course, I'm helping my guests get promoted out there, and it's helping promote me as I'm interviewing these people as well. So podcast is another thing. Stages is another thing. Talking to people on a stage, on a group, whether it's 5 people or 500 people, learn how to talk in front of people, get something that you want to say. There's two big features. Number one is, what problem do you solve? Number two is, who do you solve it for? That's your target market. And that's the problem you're going to take care of for those people. Develop that thing. It's called the signature talk with the people that I work with at 10X Stages. And they've been teaching me how to develop my signature talk. So I sound really cool. And I've got a lot of neat things to say. And I end up providing an offer for my viewers on these stages. So that's another thing. And a tip here in this whole marketing world, I said earlier, is that attention follows money.
Yep.
And marketing is superior to sales. If you don't have good marketing, you're probably not going to make any sales, because nobody's going to have heard of you. And the better your marketing is, the easier the sales process is, because part of that marketing is you're creating an interest, you're creating an urgency in your particular product or service. And the thing is assume that nobody sees it. In other words, keep doing it. Keep doing it. Don't say, well, I'm going to do this for 5 weeks, and if nobody responds, I'm going to stop. No, do it for 500 weeks. Do it until your pipeline is so full, you can't handle it all. Assume nobody sees it. So that's my tips, I guess I would say, on marketing, how to get known. And that's what marketing is all about, is how to get known in the marketplace. It's a challenge. It's probably our biggest challenge, because without sales, we don't have a business. But without marketing, I don't think we're going to have sales.
Hi, my name is Anik Malafon from Mastering Ascension, and I've been working with Tim Melanson and the Creative Crew Agency for a number of years now. Tim is my go-to guy for all things technology, and his team have helped me to really create the platform that I need, that represents my brand, my message, and connects me directly to my ideal clients. What I particularly love about Tim is, before he starts to dive into the technology, he always makes sure that he understands what your global view is, what your ultimate goals are. So then that way you're not wasting a lot of time back and forth switching around technology or platforms. He creates something from the get-go that is scalable, which is highly beneficial for any business. What I've experienced from Tim and his team is they're highly responsive. They are a wealth of information, and they're going to offer you the tools that you need to really make the mark that you want to make in the world. So that's my recommendation for Tim. He's awesome. You're going to love every minute. You won't regret it.
You're right.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, I think so. And I think the good news is that the way that the market has changed is that, back maybe, 30 years ago, it would be something that you'd just spend a bunch of money on a billboard, right?
Yeah.
And, you're done, right? However, now those things don't really work the same way. You can reach a pretty big audience nowadays, which is the good news, on your own.
Mhm.
Bad news is that everybody can reach that same audience the same way. So,
Yep.
how do you stand out, right? And it's not the same as it once was, where it's just a matter of picking up the phone and calling and or sending people messages and your thing and saying, "How are you doing?" Like, that's not going to work as well as putting out some real good value and have people come to you, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know how many times had the conversation. We'll probably talk about it later of how to find pitches and how to find people, how to subcontract, all of that. The main advice that people give is go follow them, follow their content. If you get a good feel from their content, then contact them. So really, if you flip that the other way on how to get fans, really the way to do that is like you just said, have a newsletter where you're offering value, have a social media channel where you're offering value, speak on stages where you're offering value. If you can prove to them that you have this value to offer, well, then people are going to actually come to you and ask you for that value, right?
Right. Exactly. And, and part of that whole thing, I think, is branding also.
Mm-hmm.
Create a brand, your brand. You're the rock star.
Yep.
That's part of your brand. That's part of your moniker, basically. Mine is RST Coaching Academy. The funny thing about that name is that some people look at that and think, "Oh, you coach sports. What kind of sports do you coach?" That's not quite true. But if I had it to do over again, I might have called it something different. But right now, I'm committed to RST Coaching Academy. But something that you can brand yourself and will set yourself apart from the market.
Yeah.
I've always been a believer in a name that has something to do with what the business, what the company is about.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that makes total sense to me. I interviewed a fellow the other day that he argued with that, and he brought up something like Apple. Apple, what's that got to do with a computer or an iPod? Their big start. And so if you do it right, you can pick just about anything. And he gave me a couple ideas that I could transition to. And so I went on the internet and I checked them out. And unfortunately, they've already been taken. So I have to come up with some other ones. Just recently, I came up with one that's askruss.us.
Yeah. There
Or
you go.
askrusanything.com. Or how about pickmybrain.us? Those are 3 domains that I just came up with to kind of brand me a little bit. And I can put those out. And I think what I'm going to do with those is they're going to link into a Calendly link where people can sign on to have a conversation with me. So that's where the ask me, ask Russ, pick my brain comes from. So branding is an important thing, and it takes time. It takes time and it takes repetition. Coca-Cola didn't. They're probably one of the best known companies in the whole world, like Apple. That didn't come overnight. They put a
No.
lot of money into it. They put a lot of effort into it. But
Yeah,
that's part of the marketing process too, is branding.
yeah, and you've got to be willing to evolve as well. And I think that
Yeah.
that's where a real good brand, like hire, I mean, that's what we do, right? Hiring a real good branding company can be pricey. I mean, it's a real thing. It's a real skill. And so sometimes you might, spend a bunch of money on a brand and then realize a few years later that, okay, I think I need to do a rebrand. And then I think a lot of people will hold on to that brand and go like, you know what? I spent a bunch of money on it. Maybe I'll just keep on pushing them forward at this. But if you do look at the big companies and the Pepsis and the Cokes, they've changed their logo. Like you can
Mhm.
look at them, they've actually changed their branding over time. It's still the same company, but they've changed it. And if those big companies are doing it, maybe there's a reason, right? And maybe
Uh-huh.
that's something that you might want to look at. It's there's very few companies that have kept the same logo for years and years and years, right?
Yeah,
It
that's a good
changes
point.
slightly.
That's a very good point. The name is still the same,
Mhm.
but the logo, the
Yep, the
visual
logo changes. Yep.
is different. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they hone it in, right? They hone it in. Like, and you can kind of see it as time goes on. There's this element that maybe stays the same, but everything else around it changes. They're honing in on something, right? So yeah,
Good point. Good point. Yeah. So nothing is carved in stone.
no,
You
no,
come up with
exactly.
something that's working today, maybe it's not going to work tomorrow. So you do need to maintain a degree of flexibility so you can evolve and change with the times. Otherwise, you're going to stagnate and you'll never really get to where you want to go because
Agreed.
the market has left you behind.
Agreed. So
Cool.
it's time for your guest solo. So tell me what's exciting in your business.
What's exciting in my business?
Mhm.
Oh, being able to help people. Years ago, my wife and I, when we moved to Florida from Wisconsin, it was not long after we had moved here that we realized that there just doesn't seem to be much of a work ethic down here. There doesn't seem to be much of a service mentality down here in Florida. And we thought how cool it would be to be able to develop seminars, to be able to teach people those kinds of things, work ethic, putting forth the extra effort and going the extra mile and just being totally professional. And it was a cool idea. We're just full of cool ideas, of course. And it didn't go anywhere because we didn't really know how to get it off the ground. And so that was in 1998 when we first moved to Florida. And meanwhile, I'd done, some of these other 8 to 10 other businesses that I've gotten going down here in Florida. And October, well, I think it was maybe September or so of 2022, I saw a little video by a fellow by the name of Grant Cardone. And he was talking about real estate and business and stuff. And so I signed on for one of his seminars and I thought, this is really pretty cool. And kind of looked at some other stuff. And one day I got contacted by his office, by one of his guys, and said, would you be interested in becoming a licensed coach? Well, they only asked that question one time because it was something that I thought, this is really cool. This kind of goes back to what we thought about in 1998, that there's a need for people being trained in how to be professional, how to make more money, how to build their business, how to become great in the marketplace, and not just in the marketplace, but in their family, in their community, in their church, in their country, in every aspect of their life. The proper training and information can affect all of those areas. And so, the fella, his name was Elliot out of Miami, he went through the Dog and Pony show on a Zoom call, and my wife and I were sitting here in my lovely office listening to him and showing the things that he showed us. And honestly, it was a $25,000 buy-in. And, a person, here's a little tip. Be able to make a decision. Don't be a fence sitter. But when you got the information, don't be afraid to make a decision.
Mhm.
So we're done. We're talking, and we had the information, and guess what? I made the decision right then and there. I said, I'm in. So we shelled out the money, and the rest is history. Now it's been a long haul for me getting ready because, like I said earlier, I can get distracted really easily. But I'm on a big thrust now, shooting for $250,000 in revenue this year, wanting to reach 500 businesses, 500 people by 2026 to affect their lives. And that, you asked me what's exciting. That's exciting, to be able to help these people that might be floundering, might be just flopping around, not knowing what they're doing. Maybe they're a new business startup. Maybe they've been in business for 5 years, 10 years, but they need more. They need to go farther. And that's what I want to help them to do. What I don't know, which I do happen to know a few things, but I don't know everything. What I don't happen to know, I'm connected with others that can definitely pass on the information that they need. So we can take a business that's literally a startup, up to $125 million in revenue in short order. There's certain principles, there's certain breakpoints, there's certain things that need to be covered in that process, and that's exciting as can be. I pity the person who says, I don't want employees, I just want to stay small. Well, the thing with staying small, and that's been my thing, is someday I'm going to be gone. And if it's all around me, if it's all around just myself, I'm still a one-man band, it's gone.
Yeah.
But I want to build an organization that lives on after Russ is gone, or that lives on after Russ is sailing in the Bahamas with his wife or through the Caribbean on our boat, and I can just check in from time to time. I don't want the business to continually revolve around me. And I would hope that most people listening to us today, Tim, would come to that conclusion, is that there's more going on. There's more at stake. There's more that can be accomplished. We're talking about freedom. We're talking about freedom of money, freedom of choice. I say, picture this. Picture the day when you're making more money than you know what to do with. Picture the day when your accountant calls you and says, what should I do with this extra money? Picture the day when you have choices, that you can work when you want to and then play the rest of the time. Picture that day. It's doable. It's attainable. There's ways to get there, no matter what your business, no matter what your background. You need information, you need training, coaching, etc. It's available. It's available. We talked about that. Tim said there's gobs of people out there doing what I do. I can't help it that I'm aligned with the best in the world, which helps me put me over the top. But nevertheless, there's help out there. And it works.
Yep, you bet. Yeah, and yeah, I think we're living in a golden era for businesses and for work from home and for freedom, because there's never been a situation where just the average person could find help so easily, right? But the one thing that we are working against, I think, is programming. We've sort of been programmed to be employees just through our society. And so, I think that would be the main thing to start to break. It's tough. And I mean, I'm sure, I don't know, we'll look at your story. And my story is very similar. We were sort of like the rebels. We were the people that were not listening to the authority. And we were kind of like, outcasts, I guess, in a way. And, we decided to start businesses because really, what else are we going to do? Go work in a cubicle. And, I worked in a cubicle for 8 years, hated it, and decided I didn't want to do it anymore. This is where I am now, right? Now, that journey is long and it's not super simple, right? And we're fighting against our own programming. But with businesses like yours, there's lots of people out there that are willing to help, and it's a win-win, right? You make your business by helping someone else make their business. If you can create those win-wins, why not, right?
Yeah. And then you're leaving a legacy in the process. I want people to remember Russ Thomas and what he did for this person, that person, this company, and so on, long after I'm gone, and for my family too. I've long believed and maintained that there's actually two American dreams. Number one, of course, it's always everybody says is home ownership. Mm-hmm. But I maintain that the second American dream is business ownership. Given the opportunity, I'll bet most people would rather be in business for themselves than working for the man every night and day. But they don't know how to do it. They're not ready to take the risk. They're not ready to jump into it. They're not ready maybe even to explore the possibilities. And have an idea for a product and put it out there as far as, say, what we'd call marketing research to see if this is a viable thing. one of the fellows that I interviewed the other day, we were talking about, creating this really cool product that you really think is neat. But if nobody else does,
Yeah.
what are you going to do? What's going to come of it? And so that's just the name of the game. Now, maybe you can create a desire. And I think I mentioned to this fellow the iPod, the Apple iPod. And what he answered was something like, well, people needed it, they just didn't know they needed it.
Yeah.
So they had to be educated, basically. And
Yeah.
so that's part of the thing too. If it's a new revolutionary product, okay, then that makes it a little harder to get out there and get people to turn their head, put their attention to it, and say, hey, I like this thing. But it's all part of the game. But
Yep.
it starts with the desire and the passion to be self-employed, to be an entrepreneur, not be afraid to step out, to take some risk. You don't want to put your home in jeopardy. You don't want to sell your kids or anything like that. But figure out a way to take some risk. What does it cost? $20, $30 to build a web, to start a web, to register a domain name. It's going to cost you several hundred to have a website design and so on, but that's a drop in the bucket and you're in business. Just get known.
So how do we find out more about you?
Well, let's see. I guess you can go a couple ways here. You can go to rstcoachingacademy.com, probably the big way. If you happen to be in the marine industry, which is, as I think I said earlier, is probably one of my big target niches here.
Mm-hmm.
It would be Marine Business Growth Solutions.com. And that kind of discusses the same things that RST Coaching Academy does, but more from the marine standpoint. You can give me a call at 386-286-2450 is my phone number. And guess what? I will answer with the new high-tech black phone for this business. You could also go to any of the other little domains that I mentioned here, askruss.us, askrussanything.com, or pickmybrain.us. I've got all three of those just set up, and they're all going to a Calendly page where people can set up for an appointment to talk with yours truly. It's a free conversation, 30-minute conversation, no obligation. Just get to know each other and see how I might be of service. That's what I'm about. Phone number, website, and a chit chat.
Love it.
My blog page is rstcoachingacademy.com/blog. And in there's podcasts and there's video blogs that I've done. So that's how to get a hold of Russ. And I'm here to serve. Awesome. I'm here to serve. I'm here to serve your audience, Tim. Here to serve, do whatever I can.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for rocking out with me today, Russ. It's been a lot of fun.
Well, I love rocking and rolling, as I said earlier, and that's what we've been doing. I try to dance the dance that I can, the best that I can, without breaking any bones these days. But it's been great sitting and chatting with you, Tim. I really appreciate and am honored by the opportunity to have spent this time with you. Honestly, when I signed up for this, I didn't know if you had some big, massive vetting process or not. But when I signed up and it was like, you're in, it's like, hallelujah, so it's been great. And I appreciate knowing you. And hopefully I can get you on my podcast one of these days soon. I'll send you the link and you could sign up to do it. And we'll just reciprocate a little bit too. So thanks for the time, the opportunity to get my story out there a little bit and to share ideas in this whole world of entrepreneurship and working from home. I love it. It's cool.
You bet.
I had to dress up. I had to dress up for today. Sometimes I'm not this nicely dressed, but I'm trying to impress your audience.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for rocking out. To the listeners, make sure you subscribe, rate, and comment, and we'll see you next time on the Work at Home Rockstar podcast.